All right. I think we are online. In case you're watching me online live, just let me know. Give me a hi, hello. I've opened the panel, chat panel. Okay, just tell me whether I'm audible, visible, and here we are. So, welcome to today's episode number 54, Unlocking Emotional Mastery Using Your Brain Skills. And today's episode is again attached to decision making. How can you simplify your decision making? One of the key skill set for entrepreneurs, for leaders, for managers, for anybody who's naturally leading any set of people, um, or for an individual in the goals of their family goals or career goals, or a relationship. How can you break the complexity of deciding, making better choices in daily life and in a bigger scenarios? So at this point of time, it is important to know statistically and also technically how can we approach decision making, because we have seen different angles of decision making in the previous episodes. How do you make decisions using your values, and how can you approach the decision making stress free? There are techniques, and overall on a very both at the elementary and then the medium level of strategies have already been discussed today. From today and in another 2 or 3 episodes, we will cover the decision making as such. We will deep dive into it. Okay, this is where the game is getting to the next level, because you need to understand, as an average, an individual takes about 35,000, 3,000 to 35,000 decisions per day. Imagine, we're talking about an adult and even a school kid. Okay, a mid school and a high school, I always consider them as a uh, you know semi-adult, because of the decisions that they have to take. We may not understand it may not be a gravitative or intensified critical decisions that they have to take, but they still take a choice. So all of us going through the decision, whether the outcome is bigger or smaller, doesn't matter, but we do um, you know we do the process of arriving at a decision. So it is important, whether you're a student or a college graduate or a career seeker person, or you're in an advancement of career in a leadership position, or as a business entrepreneur, or simply you're at home managing your family. You still need this decision making, and we are all deciding for ourselves. So there's no denial, and there is no need to ignore the fact that the daily choices also matters and shapes our future. When you are taking an individual decisions, it also has an impact on people around you, in the essence of which, to understand both the components working together, and there are other components that will make you to arrive at a better choice, wise choice maker in the process. But what are those areas? Where can you apply? And how effectively can you apply using your brain skills? Because this entire series is dedicated to improve your left brain, right brain, and midbrain. So on that note, we will also see some hacks and an interesting case study, especially when it comes to decision making. I cannot leave without mentioning this personality. And he is a 92-year-old person. We all know about him. The entire world know about him. Okay, so we're going to be discussing about his brain styles. I'm so it's fun to read and eat people's brain when it comes to people who are experts and successful in their industries, because that's the proof of evidence for us to demonstrate or model the same. On that note, let's see what we've got for today. I'm going to share my PPT. And if you want to share with somebody whom you think it's most needed, it could be a teenager, it could be your a child, I mean, your son or a daughter who's looking for a career choices in order to make that choice wisely, or you are using for yourself, you may be an entrepreneur or in any leadership role. This is for you, and also share it with somebody whom you think it's needed. Okay. Now we'll see how we're going to simplify the process of decision making itself. Let me quickly check if everything is correct in terms of the Zoom. Just want to make sure. And hi. Got it. Got it. Super. I'm going to share my screen, and the screen should be up. 1 second. There we go. Cool. All right. So we're going to be seeing an episode on how to simplify your decision-making process so that you will have reduced stress. Taking a stress-free decisions is important, and also reduce the amount of exhaustion happening within us and outside us in order to arrive at a decision. You may think it's not needed for a family person. You may be a full-time mom or a full-time dad, okay? But it's not that way. Even deciding on what meals for the day, I'll tell you, as a busy mom, you will understand. If you are watching, a busy mom is watching, you will always give a smile, right? How many times in a day we will think about what is the menu, what should be the, you know, choice that we have to make a breakfast, a lunch, and then a snacks, and then a dinner, day in and day out. So constantly there is processing happening, whether you like it or not, whether you realize it or not. It is happening. Now extend the same thing for a little bit of high intense or critical decision making. Everywhere the process is the same, and so is the energy and exhaustion. So your energy is not going to differentiate whether you're taking that decision for your kitchen or for your office work. Anyway, there is a spending of energy and time and efforts, but how effectively are you doing is all matters. So today we will see how to reduce that exhaustion. Second thing is, how do you build confidence in making those wise choices? By the time you figure out how effectively can you actually take a decision, even if it's small, can you save your time and effort there? And is it impactful both for you and for others? If you have a pattern of that, you just have to demonstrate or model the same pattern for all kind of decision making. In fact, how you do small things is how you do anything bigger. So it will definitely help you. The same formula that you can apply. Maybe the angle should be different, or it could be the number of items that you need to consider could be really different. That is what is determined the criticality of your decision making, wherever you're applying it. But eventually the process is the same. So if you are able to take it wisely, then you're gaining your confidence with your own mastery experiences. And you may never know that it could be a strength in you. If your brain patterns is allowing you to efficiently and wisely take a decision, then it should be really be functional in your brain stats. Okay, we'll figure that out. Now, after you are having your own proof of evidence that you are able to take a wise call at any point of time, and people look at you, they approach you for a quick decision making. Yesterday, in fact, we saw an episode of how to quickly decide. Okay. In case you have not seen it, I would highly recommend you to watch that. And the previous episodes was more of a, value-based and how to take a stress-free decision-making techniques and all that. And today we are aligning it to your goals and how can you, build this confidence and stress-free, reducing your steps towards making decisions. Thereby, you are able to align your goals and emotions for a greater clarity and success. At the end of the day, you're not going to take a quick decision, neither, take it, even if you're taking it individually based on your core values, it is only going to give you that necessary confidence to move forward. So it'll never get wrong as long as you do it this way. In the episode where we wanted you to align your decisions based on your values, it can never go wrong unless and until you're not clear with your values. And what if you have a value mismatch and all that we discussed in the previous episode? That is where you can go wrong. But otherwise, if you have a systematic approach and that seems to be working, then that is a formula for you. And you also have to be aware of overdoing on it. You by now know, watching this episode, you will not overdo on any particular skill or talent that you want to develop. Am I right? By now, you know there is a consequence if you overdo on any particular skill. That also we will discuss. And we're going to take a very interesting case study, as I already promised. We'll see how his brain style works and how did he manage to get that amount of wealth and that amount of compounding effort on his decision making. Before that, I would like you to understand what is simplified decision making all about. So by general definition itself, breaking down the complex decisions into smaller and manageable steps, avoiding overwhelm and increasing clarity is the understanding that we are approaching. Okay. On that note, because we will be talking about left brain and right brain approach, it is important to embrace both the brains. Okay. I told you in the beginning, this is how I set the context in every episode. Brain is a biological, organ. Okay. There is nothing called mind. Mind is just a concept. And whatever happens in your mind, everything happens in your body. But when you cut open the body, there is an organ called brain, and you cannot deny it. So there is some functionality for your brain, and that is exactly what we are going to make use of it. So there are two hemispheres of a brain: left brain, right brain. Left brain is logical, right brain is, um, creativity and emotional brain. So we're going to watch and activate how both the brains is going to help you integrate both the datas and effectively decide. It can be a time saver, it can be an energy saver, it can be a money saver, it can be a resource, or it could even build relationship, if not break it. So you need to understand if you overdo it, it might have its own consequences. So in essence of it, when you want to simplify decision making, how your logical brain is enabling is by structuring methods. It gives you a structured approach. So like a step-by-step plan and prioritization to simplify the decision-making process. So this is your logical brain coming and helping you. Okay. And then we'll see what's your right brain approach. How is your right brain helping you is by incorporating emotional insight and creativity to feel confident in your choices, using intuition to guide the process. How nice it is, right? Both the brain is actually giving you the data at the same point of time. It's just that depending on our dominating brain styles, we are using more of a logic or more of a creativity or emotional cues. Okay. You and me could be very different in approaching any data. So that is what is determining who we are and what are our value systems. And that is what determines the approach, like how I approach certain things in my life, how I conduct in my life. So this is very, very important. Okay. The next one is, what are the advantages if you are able to simplify this decision making? At this point of time, when we are reaching pandemic after pandemic, especially we are in mental health pandemic, emotional intelligence is the most highly demanded 21st century skill. But more than ever, it is needed now. You know why? Because we are moving towards a world or a daily world of less human connection. There is no time for anybody to even listen. So where are we listen to others? So where are we going to listen to our own selves? Because when we talk about emotional intelligence, necessarily we are talking about both intelligence and emotions. Am I right? It is not just the IQ derived out of intelligence, which is a logical brain driven. It's also about emotions, which is a right brain driven. Now, emotions happens only with others? No, it happens within us also. So how much time are we going to listen to ourselves? And how are we listening to others is what is going to help you blend that input also with that of your structured approach, your systematic approach, your academic excellence, everything will come in place. So while this logical brain is actually helping, because all these years in the education system, we have been driven only with logical approach, systematic approach, because that is what is the advantage of, our traditional education system at all. But the new world demands both the emotional intelligence approach. Both the data has to be there. Both education has to be given. A child has to be emotionally literate right from the elementary school. So that is the need of the hour more than any times, because we are hitting towards mental health, which is caused by less connectivity, less understanding, especially on the emotional needs. We have done quite an amount of episodes on emotional insight, empathy. We started off with resilience, and then emotional agility, critical thinking, proactivity, problem solving in various angles, as a parent, as a leader, as a business entrepreneur. All these episodes were done, and even now for decision making, everything is needed. So you'll have to go back to the previous episodes and be able to connect the dots. Even the future episodes are needed for you to take a simplified decision making. So please, if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, do so that you will get notified. Now, coming back to this, advantages of you taking a simplified decision making is when you're actually, rewiring your brain. Maybe the old patterns are more logical driven. Now you're willing to learn from this so that you will also understand the emotional component which have been maybe missing in your style. For somebody who is watching this, they are dominant in reading emotional insights on others. They are people oriented person. It's maybe it's very easy for them. So for them, the missing element is the structured approach. Okay, there are so many brain style people who will be watching this. So for all of them, it suits. You know why? Because both these data point are needed at all times. It is up to us which one is dominating. We are picking up the data, but that doesn't mean the other side of the data is neglected or to be ignored. Everything is needed for you to be effectively, impactfully taking a call. Both the sides are needed, and decision making is the main skill, very, very important skill in emotional intelligence. If a person who's able to wisely take choices, they're already emotionally intelligent, because it is going to have a lot of other components of emotional intelligence in it. Okay. So that is why this is more fun for me to also learn and grow. Okay. Now, the advantages of you simplifying the decision making is it is going to give you the reduced, it will reduce the overwhelm, first of all. Okay. The reason why we are doing this is to um, break our decisions into smaller chunk, making that process less intimidating. We all feel that, right? At any point of either you are in business or you are in your career, um, you know, leading a critical position, or in your family leading some adversities, you need to reduce the overwhelm, right? We don't like to be overwhelmed. We don't like to be stressed. In fact, overwhelm is the couple of steps then when you started feeling stressed out. It really starts with maybe some irritation. Okay. It could be some tiredness because of which you're irritated, and then it becomes an annoyance, and then it could be a stress. Okay. But if the tiredness is, a little bit more than you expected, maybe some exhaustion, because of which there could be irritation or anger or whatever it is. But then before even you reach an overwhelm status or an anger status, there are so many steps you should have passed away, but you are not aware of it. None of us, unless we are emotionally literate, to even know what is happening within us. Okay. But when you hit a overwhelm, you will know actually, because you will either get tired physically or mentally exhaustive. You just want to sleep sometime, or somebody eat, stress eat. I do it. My pattern is when I get stressed out, I eat. This is something new I picked up. This has not been there. So immediately when I look, because of my awareness, is really good. I've been building on my emotional awareness on myself. I'm able to figure out that pattern. But had I not been aware of it, one, it has its own consequences. Second, I may not understand this pattern. So then the overwhelm might happen as an autopilot. In fact, after overwhelm is exhaustion, and then it leads you to burnout. And burnout is the last stage. So when I say burnout, it's you break down, okay? And it is very hard to bounce back. It takes time. Anything and everything can pinch that person and they get exhausted. So sometimes biologically, physically, you'll have to take care, sometimes emotionally, sometimes mentally. So this simplifying decision making actually helps you to break down that complexity in the beginning stage itself. Thereby, you're increasing your clarity. A structured approach improves focus, helping you see the decision more clearly. And then the minimized stress. Step by step decision making lowers your anxiety by eliminating the need to solve everything at once, especially women. You know, if you're a mother, I know, I've been there too. Okay. I've consciously made myself not to take too many things on my plate. I don't want to be there in all the parties. I've consciously made a decision. You know why? Because I've been there in burnout for twice. The first time I didn't realize. The second time I was able to realize, but by the time it was too time crunching and then it just went over the board. I couldn't control it. Now, this time or forever, I'm not getting into that stage. And I don't want anybody to also into that stage. That is why I'm on a mission to help women get into this emotional intelligence awareness, starting from scratch. So directly attacking the burnout. In my coaching program, in my reels, you would be seeing me bashing down the burnout as an enemy. But it all begins with this literacy that we need to know what is happening within ourselves. If you are able to follow this, okay, a simple insight, but daily practice will definitely help you come out of it or even prevent you to go to that age. We don't want to be that. It's not fun at all. More than the fun, it's not in your country. It becomes uncontrollable. Medically, physically, mentally, it takes time for you to bounce back. By the time, a lot of opportunities, a lot of time, a lot of energy is lost. So it is important to have that structured approach, which gives you the focus, helping you to see the decision more clearly. And then naturally, you will have a minimized stress because you're going to follow the step-by-step decision making. Thereby, you're reducing the anxiety. Some more, it improves confidence. Now imagine if you are able to take such kind of a decision, which is reducing your anxiety, which is also helping you conduct yourself really very good during the decision making. You're not getting swayed by your emotions or others' emotions. You're objectively approaching. Thereby, you're also seeing the outcome. And if you are able to also have a clarity on what to do next, then it is, you can go back to it will definitely going to give you a better outcome. And you can always look at the trend of you taking a better choices. It will give you the confidence level. Thereby, it will also enhance your focus. You are able to focus on what matters the most without getting distracted by unnecessary details. Very, very important. I told you one angle of what we are dealing today with mental health. Another angle is the one angle is could be exhaustion, overwhelmed. Another angle is highly competitive and overload of information. Everywhere there is FOMO, at the same time, everywhere there is information, overload. People are lost, right? All these could be, you can get it from YouTube, but you know why people come to this kind of a focused learning? Because it helps you focus. Out there, when you go, you don't know what to focus. You don't know what to learn. You're again going back to the level zero. So that is why you need to simplify. Okay. And focus is the currency at this point of time. More than the money, more than the time, right now, focus. Okay. Now, the cons that is over the consequences of overdoing this particular skill. Right now, you're ready to rewire your brain because I've been telling you that this is important. And you will also see some more importance and application of where you can simplify. But imagine if you're overdoing on simplification of your decision-making process. Suppose you're very good at it. When will you overdo on it? When you're too good on something, you try to, play around with it, right? Too much. Maybe you try to spend more time, more focus on it. What will happen is, first of all, it is going to be time consuming because breaking down decisions may require more time upfront, particularly for complex situations. And then oversimplification, it could risk because it might be too complex to break down into simple steps certain things. It might not give you that clarity. You might want to chunk it, but maybe it has to be sucked up. You never know. There could be some decisions in life, some adversity is there not to dissect. You just have to accept it. Okay. Without being, very critical about details, you just have to go with a larger perspective. Then there could be lack of flexibility. If you're a person over reliant on structured steps, that may lead to inflexibility when circumstances changes. It could be so when there are people involved. You might want to go with people's, I'm not asking you to go with the likes and dislikes, but when there is a people involved process, you will have to go with the majority. Sometimes process may, if it is backed up by process, it definitely gives a structure within which the frame, people can conduct themselves really well. But there could be situations where, let's say, there is a grief, or let's say when somebody is really happy, or maybe you're going into an adventure mode. You just cannot expect a structure to it. You just have to go impromptu. You just have to let it go. But backed up by calculated risk. That much you can do. But if if you start looking at the map, step by step, if you start measuring, it's not going to happen. That adventure spirit will not happen. What if the other person, other brain style is totally different? They may be, out there for adventure only. Their brains will not accept for structure at all. So they will be a mismatch. And additionally, it will not be applicable for all decisions also. It's not needed. Sometimes, yesterday we saw quick decisions. For you to take quick decisions, one, it comes from practice. Second thing is just apply. You cannot dissect in certain areas. Just jump into action. Okay. So some decisions may require immediate action. Making step-by-step process make it very less useful. You may want to dissect it later by looking at the outcomes. If it is a failure, you will definitely go back and reflect. You will review it. But if it's a success, you just go ahead. Celebrate the success, don't dissect it. But you will figure out how can you shape it up? How can you make it more efficient or impactful later on? But the spirit of you taking an action should not be missed because you have this power in you to dissect. Okay. And then dependency on structure is also more. People who thrive on spontaneity may find step-by-step approach very rigid. I just told you. So depending on the situation, depending on the scenarios, you might want to use both the, either of the thing. The adventure, the creativity all comes in the right brain. This is my right side, so right brain. And structure, shape, numbers, figures, everything happens in the left brain, logical brain. Now, let's see why it is important. Complex decisions can lead to overwhelming, okay, decision fatigue, procrastination, and poor choices due to rushing. If you don't have this simplification skill, it is only going to lead you to procrastination immediately. And then the more you procrastinate, you're going to lose time, you're going to lose opportunities, you will lose your own confidence. We have been seeing this consequences very sequentially in the previous episodes onwards, right? So that is why everything is, coming by heart for me, because we have been grinding from the beginning, the same consequences. So procrastination is a state of being, and it is not a particular what do you call it? It's not it's actually taken in proportion. It's not on over a weekend, one night you become a procrastinator. You slowly become a procrastinator and hopefully not become a serial procrastinator. So for which you need to hold the skill of taking choices. And benefit is you simplifying helps you to stay organized and calm, making it easier to reach thoughtful, informed decisions. That's the skill. Let's start, statistically also, let me share with you, a study made by Cornell University, which is the Ivy League, which says an average day spent by taking 35,000 decisions by an adult per day, starting from what coffee you want, what kind of decoction you want. It is a strong coffee, a light coffee, and then your outfit, your footwear, your car, your mode of transportation, whom do you want to talk with, how much you want to talk, how much you want to eat, what do you want to eat, everything, or what do you want to even make for eating for dinner or breakfast. I told you, a busy mom, the first decision fatigue happens in the kitchen. Okay, and then comes the next, toddler or parenting area, and then relationship, and then work, and then travel, and then critical choices of life. So if you want to reduce, statistically also breaking down decisions into smaller steps, reduce the decision fatigue by 30%. So who needs this? A busy professional, of course, juggling with multiple tasks and projects, they need it. And parents managing decisions that impact their family, they also need it. And entrepreneurs needing to make clear, faster decisions in business, they also need it. And individuals who are looking to reduce stress in personal life decisions, they also need it. Practically everybody needs. I told you, even a student needs emotional intelligence, plus decision making is very, very critical for them. Now let's talk about how are we going to apply this in business, okay? Let's talk about some scenario. For example, a product launch, okay? Instead of tackling an entire product launch at once, what if you're able to break it down, focused weekly targets? For example, the first week, you may want to conduct the surveys and analysis. With that, you're going to define the product needs, features, and pricing. And then if you can design the marketing campaigns later on the following week, and then set of distribution channels, then it is going to give you that time period to concentrate on each and everything very focused. You'll be confident with your flow. Thereby, you will also be confident to meet the consequences. And you can also proactively look at the pitfalls, roadblocks, and everything. You'll be prepared. Okay. So if you are able to break it down, you will see other resources opening up for you. Other dimensions, other angle is opening up. Then comes budget allocation. So rather than making one large financial, decisions, what if you're able to divide your budget planning into different buckets? So first you're going to have some fixed cost, and then allocate the remaining funds between product development, marketing, and obviously for distribution services, you also have to maintain the operational services. Okay. So in my community, I teach something called TWCGO, which I borrowed from my mentor and he borrowed from his mentor. So this is like a legacy formula that we all maintain. So TWCGO is different buckets of diversifying your earnings and spendings. And then comes team expansion. So for the same process, I'm sorry. So for the same process, simply hiring decisions by creating a three-step process is very, very important. So first, assess the current team, gaps, and then you're able to define specific role needed. Finally, establish clear intent for each positions. Thereby, the complexity of hiring that kind of a critical position will be broken down, because you are able to see through what kind of hiring decisions may have a larger impact, because in your mind you will know the cost of it, the policies needed, and the criticality of you bringing and hire. Those things are there in your mind, but if you go with the complexity, it's not going to happen. But if you can bifurcate these activities, then it is easier for you to focus. All right, let's talk about parenting. How can you simplify this decision making in parenting? This is my favorite example. That's why I gave my own examples. Like, instead of getting overwhelmed about choosing the extracurricular activity for your child, what if you do this way? Have a simple conversation about their interest. Maybe you can give them some trial classes if they are not able to, if that age is not, that appropriate for them to even take a call, but you can ask them what is their interest. You can pick up the keywords when you're talking with them. Okay, if it's a toddler, you just cannot expect the straight answers. You just have to pick up the keywords and then talk to them to understand if they want the trial class and do they like it and all that. And then venture into practical factors like schedule days, weekdays, because you are the one who's going to arrange for it, right? So you need to take care of the logistics and all that. Your time and effort and money, resources, everything is involved. So you're going to bifurcate that. If it's a weekend class, weekday class, or it's a remote class, physical classes, and then the budget class, budget comes in. So this focused approach makes the decision manageable while still ensuring your child's voice is heard. How beautiful, right? After this, there's no looking back, even from the child front. So, sometimes, you know, things can go wrong, which is okay. But at least you took the right kind of choice at that time. You spent your time and effort that way, including your child's interest. Even the child will be focused because she's been heard, she or he is being heard first. Only based on their call you're taking, so they take the ownership. Really, It really works well. And financial planning. This is where it is even more stressful, right? How are we going to break it? So first is setting goals. You're going to establish clear monthly set goals for your based on your income. For example, aim to save 20% of what you earn. So this again comes from my TWCG formula. Um, well, that is something that you can always proportionate based on your needs, but there has to be buckets. Okay. And then cutting expenses. You're going to identify and reduce non-essential spending by reviewing monthly statements. For women, I would recommend you to have a tracker. It's okay if you are a stay-at-home mom or you're a career person, you're a business person. For business person, for sure, it is a needed activity. Month on month, you just have to track your expenses, and there's no need for any bigger dashboard or anything bigger to do with any app or something. Just simply maintain an Excel sheet, list down your spendings and investment, make sure your income is registered there, and accordingly you start tracking. This is the first step that you can take. The more you do it and consistently you do it, you can add features to it and you will build on it. But the first thing is get into the habit of tracking. Okay, that will help you big way. Now the next one is cutting expenses. You will know by the time you want to track, you will understand the pattern, and you by yourself will take a call. What if there is an understanding, there's a great value match during your financial discussions? That will be a total help for each other, right? There won't be any stress. For that matter, you will be proactively acting on your expenditures, and the other person who is earning will also be aligned with that kind of an expenditures. Okay. Thereby, the third one is tracking progress also. So monitoring savings growth using a simple spreadsheet or any banking app is also okay, as long as you're able to record it. Most important is when you bucket it, add the fun element in it for celebration. It could be for anything. Okay. You just have to spend it for playing, fun, celebrating. Okay. That bucket should be only for that. Similarly, for charity, you will not touch it. Every month, the charity has to go in. So if you can bucket that way every month, and it is like that card, you only use it for that. It becomes so convenient for everybody. You and your spouse will start talking that language. Even your kid who's watching it will fall into that same practice. Okay. This avoids a great deal of confusion, no misunderstandings, no, talks, trash talks, or unnecessary conversation happening on finance at all. It creates a discipline. So that is exactly what I'm saying. And then comes personal goals. For your personal goals, also simplify it. For example, if you have something to do with weight loss or weight gain or whatever it is, fitness regime, have something to start small, just 20 to 30 minutes a day. I've been doing the same thing for 3 years now. I just started off right after the pandemic got opened up, and I mean, it just got over around 2021 late. I started out just by walking, because that is the time we all got to know about how conscious we are supposed to be on our well-being. And that's exactly what is the smallest contribution that I could do for my wealth. I mean, my well-being. I started off with walking and then I built on it. Okay. So building gradually can happen if you consistently do it. So you're going to increase that intensity or duration as you progress, because your body allows, your mind allows, maybe your family also allows. If they know, okay, this point of time, she needs to go for a walk, they'll allow. Even a toddler would know. Okay. Of course, you will make that arrangement and then go for it. Whether it is a walk or anything, you just make it as a discipline, and beginning with small steps, and then adjust accordingly, whether it's working for you or what changes you want to make it. Now let's talk about how are we going to approach using our brain skills, because this entire series is about that, right? So we will see how our logical and creative brain, as well as taking a mid blend of both the brains, is helping us. So the first step is approaching towards your logical brain by identifying the core issue. This is the first step that you approach for simplifying your decision making. Okay, clearly define the decision to avoid getting distracted by irrelevant details. Now, there are so many options for us to get distracted. That is why I say there is a information overload, which is a natural consequences of being overwhelmed. You may never know your relationship is peaceful, your health is very good, you have so many things with you, but you still feel overwhelmed. It's only because of all your distractions. If you are able to find out, then we can take the next step. But unless you figure out the core issue, you will not have the clarity. The next comes breaking down. If you have that core issue identified, then you have a problem to work on it. You're going to dissect that. So you're going to break it down. That's again your left brain approach. So for example, you're going to review the financials, analyze the financial metrics and projections, then consult your partners. You're going to gather key stakeholders and then team members. So in office, what you're going to do is figure out some core issue with your customer or with the project or with your team member, with some government regulations or market turndowns. There can be some core issue. What you're going to do is break it down. So initially, the money will come into picture because that's where the budget hit and then cost cutting all will happen. Even for family, if there is any adversity that you're dealing, it could either be a process issue, people issue, or money issue. Break it only when you break it down, you will understand and be able to find the core issue. Then you're going to consult the partners around you. So at work, it would be your team members or your manager and the higher level. With family, your spouse and even your children or your elders. And then you're going to assess the trends. So you're going to evaluate the current and future market trends to make sure when you're breaking down, you clearly are able to close the other loops. And when it is family decisions, you will also consult with your spouse and also sit and review the past trends. What has been the trend or theme of your spending or the investment that you made, the outcome of it. You will gather that. And with that of your future goals, you're going to match it. This is how breaking down will help you. Then you're going to set time limits. I'll tell you, without time limits, no focus, no goal will be achieved. Thereby, there can be no focus because it will go aimless, endless. If there is no time limit, if there is no framework to work within which the person loses their creativity, they lose their time, they go into exhaustion, they become a procrastinator, a lot of limiting belief will happen. So many consequences, like a cascading effect. So setting your time limit. What if you say, Brinda, I'm already confused. I have so many things to do. I don't know where to start. How can I even fix time? I'm saying commit the time. Imagine, guesstimate, okay? Because by now, you know the data point. You know the core issue. You now are able to break it down. Now what you have to do is only set time limits. Then there is no value of you identifying the issue will again boomerang. Okay? You're going to set a timeline for each step to avoid overanalyzing and procrastination. This is going to help you guard yourself from yourself. Otherwise, the overthinking will stop you to take action. You'll get into analysis paralysis. That is why a timeline. Either commit a timeline within yourself if you're a committed person to your own words, or fix an accountability with your spouse or with your friends or with your parents, or some accountability, like-minded people. If it is at work, you're bound to be working under the timelines, right? Because you'll be on emails and project deadlines and all that. But if you're a business partner, business entrepreneur, it is even more critical. If you're a solopreneur, it's more worse because it will be a loner journey. So that is where it is even more critical for you to get the external accountability. But if you're working on a personal goals, you can figure out from your own family support, okay, or your friends. Then evaluate those emotions also. That's where you're using your right brain. So far, it is only left. Now you're going to pick up the emotional brain data point also. When you have identified the core issue, there also you will get an impact, idea whether it is a issue from you not taking care of the emotional needs, either on yourself or about others. Then you will figure out the core issue. But it is also important you don't stop with that. You will also evaluate that kind of emotion, whether has it transitioned from that gripping emotion to, expected emotion. Are you trying to transition from that sadness to happiness because you're able to break down the complexity and you're able to set a timeline? Now you're motivated. There has to be some transition if you're working towards yourself. If the decision is on others, you'll have to identify how have they progressed internally also. Are they feeling aligned? Are they motivated? Are they progressing? Can you make them feel comfortable? So, you need to address the emotional needs, both within the, individual and with others. So you're going to acknowledge how each options makes you feel to ensure alignment with well-being and long-term goals. Very, very important to figure that long-term impact. So if you cannot understand the emotional impact, You will think, okay, I was good. I just broke the complexity, man. I just gave you the solution. Now you work on it. No, that's not how it is. If you are a person who is in that critical, you know, even if it's a family, there's no leadership role. You're a natural leader in family also. When you're taking a choice on your career, I mean, the extracurricular activities for your child, even if it's a toddler, you need to figure out. That is why you need to ask them first. We gave you that example, right? Similarly, for a college teenager, it is important to address that emotional need, whether they are okay. Maybe they have some, problem with their peer pressure or the school. Maybe the travel itself is tiring them. There could be something that you need to identify as a core issue first step. And then also make sure that they have progressed, transition from there or not. Then lastly, review and adjust. If it's working for you, super, just go ahead with that. And make sure that it is working for others also. That is how long-term impact can happen. If you want to just walk to that destination, you can walk alone. But if you want to make it as a journey, you need other people also to follow you, right? For which you need to see the long-term effect. Now, what you're going to do after doing all that, you're going to review it. If it's working, wonderful. If it's not working, you're going to review and be adjustable, flexible to adjust that. So you're going to implement that decision by putting your chosen course of action into practice. Only then you can review. Now, the entire decision making is to make you act on it. What if you only are able to act, think about a solution, but not getting into solve the problems? That's not a, decision made properly. Maybe it could be a leader, you're delegating it, but at least that delegation is an action. And communication, it could be an action. You just cannot keep the solutions in your mind, right? Because you're able to break down the complexity and you're able to identify the core issue, you will somehow communicate as a leader. But in some cases, we have to solve it by, getting into action. And then when you're doing it, doing an action, observe the results also. Monitor the outcomes of your decision and then refine the process when it's needed by taking that insights. Both the insight, the logical data, as well as the emotional data, how you feel when you're working on it and how others feel with your decisions. Now it's an interesting part. This is my favorite person. We all know about Warren Buffett, right? He's a highly influential American businessman, an investor, a philanthropist, best known as a person who has shown us the exponential or the meaning of compounding effect, because he had has this golden principles of savings and how gradual savings can lead to a exponential growth. So his decisions based on wealth abundance is a golden principles even now, and he's 92 years old. Okay, he is the mentor for Bill Gates for various reasons. And with that being said, how can a person grow such wealth at that point of time when the world is not geared up towards forecasting certain trends and bigger choice of investments? This person made that call, and you will see when I showed his graph, right? So this is the famous graph of Warren Buffett's net worth. You can see how the graph is traveled through. He had ups and downs, right? He also had his bit of failures, but then you see consistent effort. That's what is made as exponential growth. So whenever we're going to talk about brain styles of certain people in the, successful in their areas of expertise or industries or any initiatives, it is nice to see how their logical and emotional brain work together. So in this case, his logical brain, typically enabled him to have a structured analysis of key financial metrics, focusing on long-term impact. And then emotional discipline to control that reactions and avoiding impulsive decisions. So that is also needed for an entrepreneur, right? So his top talents are focus, okay? Staying focused on simple long-term investment strategies, avoiding distractions. He's a very self-controlled person. He doesn't get swayed by emotions, too much of funda and not, no shows, right? Simple person, simple conduct of life. And then problem solving, simplifying financial decisions by sticking to what he understands, eliminating unnecessary risk. Okay. And this is his graph, and his leadership style is pragmatic leadership, simplified. So his approach is simplifying decisions, which made him a role model in finance and business for a long time. And when he became a first millionaire, his age was 32. Imagine, he had started saving from 7 years onwards. If you have studied on him, you will understand, but 7 or 9 years onwards, he started saving. And that's what made him a millionaire at that point of time, when he was a 32-year-old. Okay. Now, at this point of time, if you have questions like how are you able to break down your decisions? What are your time management skills? How are you organizing yourself, your time and energy? And how do you evaluate the emotion cues within you and outside you? And how can you focus your core issues? And how do you continue to review your outcome? If you are good at it, or if you need some help. So those are the assessing areas that you need to do, immediately. And I have a tool for you. I'm going to give you some tool which can help you assess that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a EQ quiz bundles. I'm preparing this EQ quiz for each and every episode. Imagine for 100 episodes, I have to create 100 quiz. It's going to take a little more time. So be patient. I'll give the link in the description below. You know what? How it's going to help you? It's going to give you a 10 or 20 questionnaire in each of the episode that you have seen. So right after you go through this episode, click on this link. You will figure out there is a EQ quiz bundles. Go to that episode related quiz. You can take it at any time, any point of time, as many as times you want. And when you answer it, it's going to throw four options. One option will be right. Thereby, you will know that you're good at it. There are areas of improvement also. By choosing the right answer, wrong answer, if you find what is the right way of doing it, you will have 2, 3 tips to understand, how to improve it. So thereby, the questionnaire itself is a very insightful thing for you. Okay. All you have to do is there is a link in the description, register there, you will figure it out. But then what you have to do right now is you're going to engage your insights, whatever you gain from this episode, you're going to engage that as a comments in the episode that you're listening to. So when I see your comment, I'm going to ask you for your email ID, and thereby I'm going to give it to you 100% free of cost. But by now, 100 episodes, quiz bundles will be for a cost. But I'm giving to you free of cost. If you can engage as comments, then I'll figure out, I'll give you a shout out and give you this free of cost, free coupon code. Thereby, it's all yours for lifetime access. 100 quizzes, okay? And there is an invite for your, if you're a woman, for you to enhance or to even know your own brain style. We have been talking about left brain, right brain, and midbrain, right? What if you want to know your brain style report? You will figure out by clicking that link. You can register, into a very fun interactive workshop based on your brain styles approach. How do you build your emotional intelligence using your brain skills? So these episodes are theory, but over there, when you come, it's all practical because I'm going to show you a sample report. We will figure out how the sample report is giving you that many insights for you to fix what are your talents immediately and what are the areas of improvement. From there on, where can you travel fixing your goals? So it'll be a very practical AI driven, reports and fun interactive workshop only for women. Register there. And of course, if you like this kind of an episode and give me your love symbol, like symbol, so that will be an inspiration for me. If you have still not subscribed to YouTube channel, I would highly recommend you to do so that you will get notified for the future episode. And there is also a podcast, I'll be doing it for each and every episode. Okay. So, if you register in Spotify, you will not only get the notification on that thing, you will also get a bite-sized tips and strategies. Over here, we saw very detailed, but on the fly, on the go, you can hear on the podcast. Okay. And of course, there are other free resources on Instagram, Substack, EQ blogs, and all that. Everything is available for you. Now it is on you. How do you want to approach, your learning experiences? But I want you to remember that every decisions has a opportunity to make or break your future. It's up to you how you want to take your decisions. Okay. But if you have that control, if you have that power, why not you simplify the process and choose freedom over stress? That's the whole aim, right? Remember, great decisions are not complex. They are just intentional and aligned with your purpose. So it may be correct for it. What is correct for you may not be correct for the other. But does it have an impact on people around you? That is something that you have to align. Okay. So if this episode resonated with you, take that moment to share it with somebody whom you think this clarity helps. and just transform your money and emotional quotient by using all these